Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Gold Opportunities Coaching and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about conversations of a pro wrestling related nature. We do that as often as we can, usually several times per week. For your listening pleasure, we get over 28 or almost 2,800 of these, and we cover all forms of wrestling, hopefully. Needless to say, we continue our foray there, and we open with the 21st of February 1986 edition of the TNT program. Again, kind of moving forward in that a little bit. TNT kind of running another 30 or so shows, something like that. We'll close that out this month, hopefully. Vince McMahon Sports Coat, definitely something worth checking out on this particular episode. Just Vince in plaid, checkered, what in the world? Anyway, needless to say, kind of getting in a good way there if you are Terry Funk by any stretch of the imagination. Cattle wrestling with Terry Funk is the concept of this particular run here, and needless to say, it's definitely an interesting concept, and needless to say, very basic. And Terry Funk basically says he is looking to get rid of the Junkyard Dog. He's looking to further his career and move himself forward quite a good bit here. Needless to say, Terry Funk is not willing to surrender. Jimmy Hart also around, and the stripping by one Junkyard Dog as part of the Slammy Awards is also highlighted here. Funk is phenomenal. He is stalking around and running around as though he is in a major situation. Also, Terry Funk out with a kind of campfire in the woods. Terry Funk riding horses, among other things. Funk actually a legitimate rancher, and Funk talking about how he ropes and rides wild beasts, and he can certainly make a major impact on the World Wrestling Federation because there's nobody like that. Needless to say, Funk is happy with his horses, and over the years he talks about his horse being sick as reasons he needs to go away when he doesn't like the creative of a given opportunity. Anyway, Terry Funk also, talks about his brother coming in, and his brother is first discussed here, of course, Horse Funk, otherwise known as Dory Funk. Why they call him Hoss, I don't really know. Needless to say, Jimmy Hart also unhappy with being disrespected as part of things here. Terry Funk in the nature of things. Funk is certainly a brawler, but also able to do some classic wrestling when needed. Funk is taking over. Fans are not a fan of Funk and Jimmy Hart, and needless to say, the Junkyard Dog makes his way down and has a brief match. They kind of show the match, brawling between Funk and Junkyard Dog. Jimmy Hart tries to get involved, tries to protect Terry Funk after the Junkyard Dog runs him out of the ring pretty decisively, to say the very least. And then that goes, the stalling is quite a bit. Dory Funk Jr., though, runs in double team on the Junkyard Dog, and that eventually, with him running in a business suit, is kind of interesting, but that is after he has chased Jimmy Hart around, and again, Dory Funk, aka Hoss Funk, is willing to come in and beat down the Junkyard Dog, putting the boots to him. Much like today's wrestling, a good bit of time, about 2 or 3 minutes before Funk gets any sort of, Junkyard Dog gets any sort of assistance. There is a noose around the neck, and Jimmy Hart had his clothes torn up, as it were, and needless to say, Jimmy Hart is not happy with that whole rigmarole, as it were. Steve Aoki comes out doing the tribal dance related stuff, also having some, fluffy sort of things, including a lei around his neck. This is kind of the replacement, I would suppose, for the benefit of Jimmy Snuka, who has left by this point. He comes in, does Siva Afi with a flaming torch. Afi doesn't really go in the direction they want him to go in terms of his major run, and Afi does manage to hold the fire quick at hand and the fire stick and kind of flips it around, holding it in his mouth. And Siva, he could have been, at least to me, so much more, but it doesn't run together here at the time. And the fans do appreciate his abilities, but also kind of, does some spinning with the fire stick and ultimately kind of a little dangerous, obviously with fire, but easily done, and ultimately manages to get the crowd on their feet. More talk about the Polynesian heritage, more talk about being a eventually a high chief. Lord Alfred Hayes seems impressed with this. Highlights from the Frankie Williams Piper's Pit. And for those that haven't seen it, we've also got Boxing Bob Orton, who in a highlight does knock out a enhancement talent, who I believe actually is Frankie Williams, modified boxing match, getting ready for Piper's boxing match with Mr. T in a matter of weeks. And eventually, in the next couple of weeks, we see Piper training with Lou Duva, getting ready for T versus Piper at WrestleMania 2. Not exactly, a good deal there, but needless to say, Boxing Bob Orton does take a couple of good shots at his adversary. They have removed his need for the extra supports. Bobby Heenan up next. Bobby Heenan promises that Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania will be ended at WrestleMania 2 in a matter of weeks, and Heenan basically says that he believes that he has the key to ending Hulkamania, which is, of course, King Kong Bundy and Bundy Mania. The enhancement talents being laid out by Bundy and taken out on a backboard stretcher. Obviously, certainly their stud also part of that. And Bundy, again, they show the replay with the avalanche in the corner. The threat to Hulk Hogan is pretty severe. Heenan promises that his figure will beat up the Hogan figure, literally, as they play with the action figures on the TNT set. But Hogan and Bundy in a cage is talked about in the WrestleMania hype, and we are getting close to WrestleMania 2. And from 3 separate locations, oddly enough, Steve Lombardi and the Junkyard Dog is also a major run here in the last couple of minutes for this particular edition of TNT, which, the Junkyard Dog still out there talking about the Grab Them Cakes deal, and Danny Spivey on the apron, trying to give him a bit of the rub with the Junkyard Dog having been a major force. Tag team match, and the enhancement talents take Dog back to the turnbuckle. Dog is not highlighted, and believe he is, again, not happy with going after the Funks. Funks eventually face off against JYD and Tito Santana at the pay-per-view, which isn't the best of situations. Also, we see a highlight of Special Delivery Jones in the WWF Magazine as we close this particular edition. We'll be back with more right after this.